What's up, fam? Okay, this is something that I received from my mother, who has transitioned on the other side of on January 21st, 2022. Now, I was a freaking wreck when my mother left me, okay? Because my mother was only 69 years old, okay? She never drank or smoked in her life or nothing like that. And for the doctors to tell me that my mom's gone now, they use the term dead because her lungs wasn't able to sustain oxygen to her body, her brain, and other organs in her body, and that when they took her off the ventilator, that her body was not able to respond on its own. But let me just debunk that on different aspects. Some aspects are true, but let me just debunk that in the aspect of my mom. Okay. Now, my mother was diagnosed with sarcoidosis, meaning that she had scar tissue in her lungs, okay? And that her lungs wasn't able to obtain certain amounts of oxygen to facilitate her life, her active life, her movement, her daily, doings in life, okay? And they said that her lungs had shrank to only function at like 28% in one lung and a 28% in another lung, okay? And so therefore that person would be deemed as low activity sedentary, if you will, okay? So when my mom's breathing, her oxygen intake was lower than what the oxygen tanks were able to give her. They put my mom on it's like a coma-induced drug. It's where they go ahead and they're paralyzed. They give you a drug to paralyze all your lung organ functions except the heart. Okay, and so it makes the lungs and everything else lay dormant and rely on the ventilator machine to function. Now, the ventilator machine is an oxygen producing machine. Now, remember that, okay? I'm making this video to be able to draw references for myself as well, because like I said, a lot of these things that I'm about to speak to you right now was taught to me by my mother, who transitioned to the other side. Now, because she was induced with that coma-induced drug, it made her lungs, or her kidneys, and everything else function at a very low, dormant operational mechanism, if you will, while the machine did the rest for her, okay, so to speak. That's what they said. Now, what is a ventilator machine? A ventilator machine produces oxygen, okay, supplemental oxygen to the what? Lungs. And then the lungs take that oxygen, and transfer it to the heart and to the other organs that need oxygen through the bloodstream and everything, right? So while she's in this induced coma by this medicinal drug, I can't remember what the name of it is, my mother's body, and because she was laying in the hospital bed, her life functional activities were diminished to a minimal, okay, because she's just laying there. So therefore, it doesn't take as much oxygen and blood flow to keep her life sustained, right? So at this point, they said, okay, you know what? Now her oxygen level with the aid of the ventilator now is reducing as well, to the point where they feel like that you should unplug them because it's only the ventilator that's keeping them alive now. Okay, so even at that point, we came in to the hospital, to emergency, to the ICU room, and they allowed me and my siblings, my dad. We came in there and we did a ritual around my mom to boost her with energy. We were thinking that it was energy that was gonna, facilitate, facilitate healing and bring her back here. But what it actually did, it actually boosted her soul and spirit beyond the matrix. It shot her soul and spirit beyond the matrix, okay? And so after that, The doctor came in, and you know, if I remember right, when I was going to medical school, that he was supposed to come in and look at the vital signs on the monitors, and you know, they were operating at very low functionality, and this was with the help of the ventilator. He was supposed to turn the ventilator off and to see if life sustained without the help of the ventilator, but instead the nurses turned the vital machine off and said that she was already gone. Okay, and the doctor came in about 20 minutes later and turned the ventilator off. Of course, when he turned the ventilator off, the machine was going to register. When he turned the vital machine back on, it was going to register no signs of life. Why? Because remember, her body was injected with an induced comatose drug to make sure that her lungs got a chance to rest, while the artificial lung, which is the ventilator, actually pumped oxygen in her body for her. So if you turn off the ventilator, now the lungs are still paralyzed by this drug, so it's not going to be able to pump for the body after the ventilator is turned off, right? So even in fact, I mean, even after this cat did this, he turned the ventilator off, and then the vital machine started to decline, but it never flatlined, okay? It never flatlined. And I'm not talking about everybody, I'm just talking about in the case of my mom. It never flatlined, okay? And so because it didn't flatline and it was at a very low marginal level of functionality, he turned he had his nurses turn the vital machine off and said that she's gone. I looked at her chest, I didn't see the rise in flow. But you got to remember that coma-induced medication was given to her that was going to prevent the physical evidence of rise and flow, okay, in her lungs. But that doesn't mean that her lungs did not support energy or oxygen at that point, because the physical manifestations were, coupled with the induced coma medication drug, okay? So even at that point, like, I wasn't even aware of this, okay? And so he pronounced her dead. My mother actually left her body at 5:55 p.m. on January 21st, 2021. But after that, we kept sending energy to my mom, like, no, Mom, don't leave us. And my siblings and I and my dad, we were all gathered around my mom's body, and we kept sending her energy. The vital machine kept going up and down, like high up and down, high up and down. So that was evidence right there that life was still sustaining. Okay, so even after they turned the ventilator off, and he turned the vital machine off, we were not physically able to see the life was sustaining, so we felt as if he was true and correct and that Mom had left, okay? Later on, I don't know, I got the wherewithal, the download, to start looking into the science of what happens when the body, the vessel, the remaining vessel, is frozen after so-called death. Okay, so I looked into that because we were debating on if we was gonna have my mom cremated or have a funeral with the embalming. Okay, so at that point, because we were deliberating if we were gonna do either or, they actually initially freezed my mother's body off top. Okay. The mortuary came and got her. Even in the morgue in the hospital, they sent her to the freezer. And then when the mortuary came and got her, they continued with the freezing mechanism of my mother's remains. Now, mind you, out of nowhere, I received an inclination to look and to see what happens when the body is frozen. So I did that, and when the body is frozen, I've learned that the body is actually being preserved. Okay, and so when you freeze the body, and a lot of millionaires, multi-billionaires are doing this, when they die, they are asking that their bodies, their physical vessels, be frozen for a reason. Even financial studies tell you to follow the money. So I followed that to see why they wanted their actual vessels to be frozen. Well, during this research, I found out that when you actually freeze a body after so-called death, that the body is preserved, meaning the body is still a living being, okay? The body is still operational, but at the lowest marginal level, okay? Why? The lowest marginal level is adequate to preserve the reincarnation or the re-inhabiting of this vessel that's not being moved around and doing its daily activities in life. The more activities you do in life, the more oxygen you need. But when that body is not moving around, it does not need that extra oxygen and blood flow. You get what I'm saying? So therefore, when you freeze the body is still being preserved. You get it? And it's given that oxygen and that blood flow that's necessary at that low functionality of life, okay? And science has also said that up to 3 weeks, they say that a spirit or soul can re-inhabit that body, or that body can wake up and still be functional, as if nothing ever happened. But delving deeper into that science, it shows that when that body is laying dormant with non-physical activity of the body, it is in repair mode, okay, guys? That body is in repair mode, and that body is repairing itself, okay? So as long as that body is frozen, that body is in repair mode, and it is repairing itself. So anytime that spirit, that soul says, hey, you know what? I want to go back and inhabit that body because it has been frozen at the correct Celsius and Fahrenheit to keep that, like the mortuaries do, to keep that body preserved, operating on limited functions, is possible. So in reference to what Brother Yosef was saying about cremation, in compared to burial, I agree with him on a lot of parts, but a lot of things that he was speaking was for like a 3D level. Like, yeah, we want to leave a legacy behind for our generation coming up after us, but he didn't speak on the higher dimensional levels. You get what I'm saying? Where when we cross over, what actually happens. And I learned this from my mom because she crossed over. Right after my mom so-called died, crossed over, exited out of her physical vessel, she told me, she was there. I mean, I felt her like right here with me. You get what I'm saying? She told me, I'm here with you, Ty. I'm going to be with you. You going to make it. I got you. Da-da-da-da-da. Well, right after that, she told me, Ty, because I could tell in the energy, how would you say, the energy measure of her frequency, I could tell that if she was close or far, you know what I mean? And I could tell this day that I talked to her, and that her energy seemed a little bit farther away. And I'm like, Mom, where are you? And she says, I'm going through repulsion. And I go, Mom, what is repulsion? She said, well, it's when I go through, they're helping me. She said, they're helping me rid my energy field of the energy that's no longer needed for where I am. And I'm like, Mom, what do you mean they're helping you? Who is they? And she never specified who they were. She said, they're helping me. And I said, how are they helping you, Mom? She told me, she said, it's like a imagery. She said, it's like an imagery. And what I seen in my mind was a big old TV on the wall, like a big screen TV. And, my mom was looking at past experiences in her life that were traumatizing or low vibrational, and she was looking at it, remembering it, but she was given the advantage of taking away those things that were actually, she was keeping those things that were actually advantageous, high vibrational enough to keep on her aura field to boost her forward and boost her awareness. and her knowledge. And those things that were low vibrational, you know, she processed it there by looking on the TV screen, the big screen, and she let it remain within the earth frequency if it wasn't vibrational enough to I guess on a measure of what, you know, what's the litmus for the vibrations, what level of the litmus is being you know, for the vibrations you to keep. But she told me, she said all vibrations and energies and experiences that are not at a specific point on a spectrum, she said those things were, you know, processed, reprocessed, and she had to let them go. She had to learn from it by watching on the big TV screen and let them go. And those things that were worthy, she reprocessed them, learned from on the big TV screen, and she kept those energies with her. So, and I could tell the differentiation in my mom, like, because after she left, she was very much earth emotional, because she kept telling me, I miss my family so much, I miss you guys, I love you guys so much. And I stayed with her, and I told my mom, I said, because even when she was in the hospital, I had hooked my mom up to my aura field. I had set the intention out into the universe that my mom is hooked up to my aura field, and she receives all the energies and whatever she needs from me. And I was attentive to making sure that I, you know, did high vibrational things, you know, to push that high vibrational energy to her from her heart chakra. You get it? So, yeah, she was like, I miss my family. She's like, Tom, fine, I'm good. This is something. Because she was telling me, like, don't you remember this? This is a process we go through. And I was like, no, Mom, I don't remember that. She was like, yeah. She said, this is what we go through when we transition from physical life to ethereal life. And I was like, okay, so I went through the whole thing with her. So after then, I could tell that and I was like, Mom, every day I'm hitting her, all through the day. So I like, Mom, are you good? She was like, yeah. Basically, she had finished repulsion, and I could tell her energy signature was different. It had emotion still, but it was a different kind of emotion. It was an emotion of more high vibrational emotion. There was no sadness in her emotions this time. You know, a remembrance of me, you know, and me and my family members, and a concern for us, but it wasn't on a low vibrational state to where, oh, she was like, I miss my family. No, it wasn't like that anymore. And then, just to mention that when my mom crossed over, transcended from her body into the ethereal realm, my girl, you know, she was right there. She has the gift of seeing spirits. She actually saw my mom's spirit step outside of her body, and in her third eye, her projector showed my mom at a pearly gates. She said they weren't really gates because gates are open and closed. She said, but these gates were stayed open. They were designed to stay open. And she said they was made of pearls, not just many pearls, but like, put your mind around one pearl, but the iridescence of the light hitting that pearl showed it like many pearls. And she could actually see the energies behind behind the iridescence, making the colors, you know, manifest in that pearls. You get what I'm saying? And it formed a gate, if you will, but this gate was designed to remain open. There was no closure to this gate. And she said that when my mom stepped through, my mom turned around and told her, hey, look, I made it to the pearly gates. And my Stephanie said she was looking while all of us was mourning my mom leaving her physical body there in the ICU room, but she was looking at the transition of it all. She said that once, you know, after my mom said that, she said my mom turned around like, look, and Stephanie said she could see big old wings on my mom. She said they were not like regular wings like you see on TV or animation or anything like that. She said these wings were something that she never seen. She said these wings are huge. And she said the rows and the layers on the wing was monstrous, like they went on forever. And then, you know, it was like my mom said, look, I got my wings. She said, standing on either side of my mom was my grandmother and my grandfather. And I had to show her pictures. And she was like, yep, it was him and it was her. They were standing on either side of her. And usher her in through this portal that took her to these pearly gates. And she said once she was at the pearly gates, she said that there was so many of you guys as ancestors. She said, I know it was you guys as ancestors because she said it's just the energy that she felt that these were ancestors, ancient ancestors, you know, on along to new ancestors that just transitioned and passed over. She said, but some of the ancestors were not allowed beyond the opening of the gates. You get what I'm saying? She said, and on the gates, it had, she said it was like 12 gates. She said, and it had inscriptions written on side the gates. And she said, and on the inscription written on the gate that my mama entered was called Asher. Asher. And she said that people were beings and spirits were of our ancestral were permitted to come and see this graduation, if you will, period, of a God returning home, but they were not allowed to go beyond the gate because they hadn't earned that right to go beyond the gate for whatever reason. You get what I'm saying? But my mom was. So with that, and so then moving on, like through this transition with my mom, I'm with her every day on it. I'm like, Mom, what are you doing now? So my mom told me, she was like, you guys tell my family that they must push through. Basically, she was saying that each and every last one of us in an individuality must push forwards towards our individual best reflections of ourselves, whatever that is, overcoming your doubts, overcoming your fears, or whatever, quit pacifying yourself saying, oh, I'm good right here. No, you're not. She said, push past all of that to manifest the best individual aspect of yourself. And then after you do that, bring that best aspect of yourself to the table with the others who's have all done the same thing. Then you guys have you guys can you got a bigger round table of tools and gifts to be able to use, because each and every one of us are activating at our best levels of ourselves. But you have to do the individual work for yourself. You can't rely on somebody else to do it. That's one of the reasons why my mother, was moved out the way, because she was trying to do it for some of my family members and she couldn't do it for some. You can't. Like, it's only a certain point in life that, that each spirit is able to carry each other, and to get us to a level where we're going to have to start doing it for ourselves. And it's sad because I see within my family that a lot of them still haven't wrapped their mind around that and pushing for themselves to reflect the best aspects of themselves. They're still giving themselves fucks. Like, how they say don't give no fucks? They still giving themselves too many fucks. Like, they still haven't risen to that level. You get what I'm saying? And so, like my mom said, don't let my transition be in vain, because I have sprinkled you guys with a measure of peace, so you guys can be able to, the sting of death won't hit you guys that hard, and you guys will be able to, push forward to identifying the blockages in yourself, and rectifying them by pushing toward manifesting the best level, best aspect of yourself. But you get it? Like, it's not happening with everybody. But that's not the point of this video. What I'm saying is this. So, once that happens, when a person so-called dies or transitions from their physical body, because of their body is being frozen at a certain Celsius and Fahrenheit degree, it's actually preserving the body. And I don't know why for the last couple weeks, like I have been getting, a thought, and a processing line, a memory line that my mother is going to come back to life. And I don't know why, you know, but I'm looking at the synchronicities. Like my mom said, pay attention to everything. I'm paying attention to everything, and all the synchronicities that I'm experiencing is showing that it is very, very, very much plausible. You get what I'm saying? So I'm like, Ma, do you want to come back? And she like, Ty, I don't really want to come back, Ty. She was like, but if you need me to come back, I'll come back for you. And I'm like, no, Ma, no. If where you are is much better than here, then no, do not come back. You get it? But last night, she was telling me, Ty, I got this overwhelming feeling that your mom's coming back. Your mom's coming back. I stopped watching my movie just to tap in, like, what? My mom coming back? And then I tapped into her, I'm like, because I have the gift of clairaudience. I can't see spirits. Well, I'm not going to say I can't. I haven't been able to see spirits like my babe, but I can talk to them. I have the gift of clairaudience way before my mom transitioned. So I tapped her mom, like, Ma, are you coming back? She was like, Ty, I have to. I said, why? And she said, because Nay is sad. Nay is very, very sad. And I don't think she's going to make it if I don't. I said, Ma, hold up. I said, is your body totally healed? She said, yes, it's healed. I said, where you are now, is it better than coming back here? She said, yeah, Ty, but my baby needs me. She said, because if I don't come back, that I don't think she's going to make it. And I said, Ma, do you know all things? She said, no, I don't know all things, but I know some things. And this is what she told me. I'm just summarizing it down because she told me this prior. I said, Ma, do you know all things? She said, no, I don't know all things, but I know some things. I was like, oh, okay. And so bringing it back to last night, I'm like, Ma, like, do you really want to come back? She's like, no, Ty. She's like, but I have to come back because my baby is sad, talking about my sister Nate. And I was like, okay, Ma. I said, your body is healed though, right? She was like, yeah. I said, okay. I said, so, because I don't want you to come back and inhabit that body if it's not fully functional. Because I don't want you to come back here and have to suffer. And she said, you know, I'll come back for my children. My children, like, they need me. You know, if you guys need me, I'm here. And I'm like, okay. So I said, Ma, with that being said, I accept you back because we can do it together on a more in-depth level of awareness and knowledge. And then, you know, we could do that. But like I said, Ma, if it means that you got to come here and suffer in any shape, form, or fashion as far as your physical vessel is concerned, then I don't consent. So she just left me with the knowing that just wait, just watch, look out for me. You get it? So I'm not delusional, like, okay, crossing over, life and death is a part of every being that came here to incarnate in this video game called life. You know what I'm saying? To lead to evolution and to ascension. I get that. You know, it hit hard because it's my mother, it's my matriarchal, you know, the mitochondrial DNA. Like when my mom passed, like it was certain aspects during the day, I couldn't breathe because it was my mitochondrial DNA had decreased because my mom we shot my mom past this matrix, out of the matrix. You get what I'm saying? So her energy was no longer attached to this matrix in that form and fashion. But because she is all and in all, her energy, you know, part of her energies still circulated within this realm of reality, within the matrix to facilitate us. And it wasn't until my mother-in-law, you know, we had came back from the Imagine Center where Goddess Tahita had, you know, did some energy healing work on us, and my mother-in-law was activated, and she said, if your mother was here, what would you ask her? And I sat with that, and I'm like, Ma, I miss you. She was like, okay, but what more would you want? Your mother did everything that she was supposed to do for you guys before she left. So what more is it that she could do? That hit me. That cold, what you would call cold tonality, it actually hit me, and I was able to see beyond rose-colored glasses. Like, it's now my turn. Mama did all she could do that she was supposed to do. Like my mom was, my mother's soul contract was up a while back. The first time her soul contract was up, my grandmother came to her in the spirit when she was in the hospital and said, Pearl, come back with me. It's time for you to go. And my mom said, no, I can't go right now because my kids wouldn't understand. Okay, she didn't say my grandkids. I heard the video, the audio of my mom. She said my kids wouldn't understand. Okay, and then so she was able. They gave her a extension on life, and she came out of the hospital and she came through. The second time that my mother's higher self called for her, she was in the hospital at Torrance Memorial. She told me, she said, "Tom, I begged for my life." No, she was at Torrance Memorial. She was at Centinela Hospital. She said, "I begged for my life." I said, "I know you did, Mom." She said, "No, I begged for my life." She was given another extension on life, okay? To do what she felt like she needed to do before she left here to make sure that her children and her grandchildren, true enough, was at a point where we can facilitate the rest of our journey on our own, okay? So the third time that her higher self called for her, she went into the hospital on January 11th. Her vitals shot down. It was like 74/49, and you know, on January 11th, and you know, even though we talked to her through video camera throughout the days, you know, leading until January 21st, you know, her higher self called her home. It was 3 strikes. You know, it was time for her to go home because she had did everything humanly and spiritually possible to facilitate her children and her grandchildren to get us in a place where we have to freaking do it for our freaking selves. You get it? And so, but even now, guys, like even now, like my mom and my father-in-law passed away on February 14th. Valentine's Day, okay? He was corny like that. He loved his daughter. He had one child in his whole world, which is my girl, with Stephanie, his daughter. And that was the love of his life, okay? He was divorced from his wife prior, way before that. But his only connection to this realm of reality is his daughter, Stephanie. And he chose to exit on Valentine's Day. At 5:30 a.m. Valentine's Day, he texted her and said, "Happy Valentine's Day." When she got up to get ready for work, she saw it. She texted him back, "Thanks, Dad." And she even called him Dad later on when she got the shower. "Dad, how you doing?" He said, "Oh, I'm feeling fine. I just, you know, was throwing up today, you know, but I think it was from the coffee bean that I had yesterday." And then she, you know, she was like, "Okay, what did you tell the doctor?" He said, "The doctor's coming in at 8 o'clock a.m. today." And she said, "Okay, well, when the doctor get there, you call me so we both can talk to him." He said, "Okay, I will." And so she went on and finished getting ready and went on to work. And then while she was at work, approximately like 8:05, her dad called her back and said the doctor just left. And he said he's not going to decrease my medication because he said I need to be on this medication. And, you know, and that's it. So she, of course, that's her dad. She started calling the facility, you know, like, "Why in the hell you won't really decrease my dad's high blood pressure pill?" Because he said it's too high for him, that, you know, and his vitals are stable, and yet still you keeping him his medication at a higher range, but which it wasn't a higher range. It was just like the lowest range is 0.25. They only gave him like 0.50. You get it, which is nothing, and his vitals didn't change. But it goes to show you that he chose to check out because he's seen the effects. His brother came to him in spirit and showed him, like, "Steve, if you continue to live, you took this vaccination shot already. This is what the debilities that you're going to be living with for the rest of your life. Like, dude, like, it's not cool for you because you are a different kind of guy. You are exorbitant kind of guy, and it's not conducive with your lifestyle. Nor is it going to be easy for your daughter to help facilitate your daily basic needs. Like, it's gonna be a freaking hardship." Like, you know, and he was like, you know what, her dad, because he loved her so much, was like, "Nah, I don't want to live this quality of life, and I don't want to put this hardship on my daughter." So he willingly checked out. You see what I'm saying? And then when it happened to me and my babe, you know, unexpectedly, because he was supposed to come home that next day, you know, it threw us for a loop because, you know, at that time I thought my mom had already got sent to be cremated. Mind you, she passed away January 21st. So I called the same mortuary that helped me, Dr. Reginald Black, to go and pick up my father-in-law because he's at a rehabilitative facility, not a hospital like my mom was. And he was only there because he fell he fell and fractured his 1, 2, 3, and 4 lumbar. So they were just teaching him how to be strong again and how to walk again, so he could come home and, and do stuff for himself. But he was hella healthy. The only thing about it is, they said he had afibrillation. Well, he had never had no problems with his heart. That came from the shot after further research. That a lot of people that were had took this vaccination shot, they experienced the same thing as my father-in-law. Afibrillation, heart, with the heart, and then loss of their limbs. My cousin being one of them. She didn't have the activity of her limbs either. You get it? Because I guess because she's young and her soul contract was not up, she was able to regain the facilitation of her limbs. But he didn't get the facilitation of his limbs back after that. You get it? So it was a slippery slope. And then he was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and check out because I love my daughter so much. I don't want to put this on her. And then I don't want to live this kind of life either, because it's not the quality of life I'm used to living. You know what I mean? So I called the mortuary, Inglewood Mortuary, with Dr. Reginald Black, and I'm like, man, like, you're not going to believe this, but now I need you to go pick up my father-in-law. And he's at a rehabilitative center, so it's not like they have a morgue equipped to freeze his body. And then he went and got him that same day. Took his body, picked his body up, took his body to Inglewood Mortuary and freezed his body right off top. So I'm like, I called up there, because I called the rehabilitative center. I'm like, hey, what's going on with Steve? They're like, oh, Inglewood Mortuary picked him up already. So I was happy about that. So the next day I called Inglewood Mortuary. I'm like, okay, you guys got Steve, right? And he was like, yeah, we got him. Whoa. And I'm like, oh, I appreciate it. I'm like, okay, and by the way, while I got you on the line, when my mama's remains going to come back from cremation? And they were like, hold on, let me check. Came back and was like, oh, your mother's body hasn't been sent to be cremated yet. And I'm like, why? This has been long ago. And they was like, I don't know, but, she hasn't. Make a long story short, you see, my mom's remains was supposed to stay there with Steve. You get it, to wait for Steve, because the process hadn't been completed yet. Not in the way we thought it was supposed to be, but she was able to help Steve through his transition as well. You get what I'm saying? So even now, my mother and my father-in-law's body are both being preserved by freezing at the mortuary to this day. Okay? And even with Steve, like spiritually, we were able to see that Steve comes from the star system, the Pleiades. He was this energy that came here to help raise the frequency and vibrations of planet Earth, and to produce Stephanie, his daughter, so she could be a vital force and my evolution and my ascension. Nothing is by coincidence here. Like, I can go on and on with the synchronicities, but I'm not, because I'll keep you here forever. But I'm just trying to sum it up. Pay attention to everything, guys. And if my mom and Steve, decides to re-inhabit their physical bodies, because their physical bodies are still being preserved by freezing mechanism on certain Celsius and Fahrenheit, that their bodies are now healed, that they could be able to reincarnate back in those bodies. Not saying that they are, but I don't know. I'm just following the science, guys. I'm just paying attention to everything. You see what I'm saying? My mama used to tell us all, wait until you hear the full conclusion of the matter before you draw your conclusion. So I'm looking at the synchronicities and everything, and I'm waiting till I hear the full conclusion of the matter. Do I think that the rapture exists? Yes. Do I think it exists in the form that the Bible told us? No. Do I think it's happening now? Yes. Do I think that our planet Earth is now entering the 5th dimension? Yes. Do I believe that the planet Earth new heart chakra is vibrating on a frequency of 528 hertz? Yes. No more the 432 hertz, because that's 3-dimensional. So what I would suggest you guys is, our Earth is going to evolve whether you are ready or not. And if you're not, then you're gonna be removed from the video game, if you will. I call it a video game for gods, with a lot of different species coming from other parts of the cosmos to help the evolution and the ascension of planet Earth. You get what I'm saying? And so if you're not ready, then you're not going to ascend. You're going to be removed. Just like you're going to be removed with the people who have already came here and done their job to facilitate the ascension. You get what I'm saying? So, yeah, when you bury a person, my mom taught me this in her transition. She said, Tom, I don't want a funeral. I said, why, Ma? She said, because when you bury a person, it's a ritual. She said, just as well as cremation is a ritual. I'm like, what, Ma? She said, when you bury a person, it's a ritual where you put their body in the ground and their body decays. And it takes a while for that body to decay and to mesh with the soil of the earth. And what I didn't know during that process, Brother Yosef enlightened me on today with his video, that while that body is decaying, that body and its energies is still accessible to low vibrational frequencies that can feed up off of it. You get what I'm saying? Which will cause the soul to become in delirium, if you will, and not know what's going on or what's happening. But when you cremate that body, you get it? You activate that physical vessel with fire, with the energies of fire. And what that does, it automatically activates that body and boosts it, the remainder of its energies, into full manifestation of oneness. Therefore, no low vibrational no low vibrational energies can feed up off of it. You get it? Yeah, we are supposed to set a legacy for our family that's coming up behind us, the generations that are coming up behind us, physically, but more so energetically, to be able to induce them, to endow within them high vibrational energies of consciousness and awareness, that they'll be operating on a equal playing ground. They don't have to start from sub-zero. Trying to rise above ideologies and teachings and dogmatics that kept them asleep. See, we're supposed to endow them with energies of awakeness, of awareness. You get it? Because we done already been through the storm of being asleep. You get what I'm saying? Being bamboozled by all kind of religions, ideologies, and teachings and technologies. You get it? So at our awareness level, we are supposed to, give them those and enhance them with those energies as well, so they don't have to start from the bottom. Now they're here. You get it? So I just wanted to share this with you guys, and like I said, this is just from my own life experience, from my mom's transitioning. My mom loved me in physical life. She loves me even beyond life because she's still teaching me. You get what I'm saying? But rise up and man up. You get what I'm saying? So, or should I say man up so you can rise up. You get it in your consciousness and awarenesses. You know what I'm saying? Because there is life outside of these realms, and the planet Earth, Mother Earth, is ascending to the 5th dimension. Okay, and that's a whole nother video in and of itself. And I can tell you the capabilities that are advantageous to us in the 5th dimension. Okay, I love you guys. And I want everybody to man up and rise up and take a rightful place. We fell asleep. We forgot who we were, so we could go through this navigation and this Earth matrix plane, so we could find ourselves back to ourselves, okay? And wake up and rejoin ourselves again, and our family and our friends that have already done the same. I love you guys. Peace.